your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, and be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story. I am Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan, and we are here today with a very special guest who is going to share with us her insights into a process that, sorry folks, but you're all going to go through. Well, I may want to rephrase that only slightly, but you're all going to deal with it somewhere down the road. Julie Potiker is my guest, and we're going to talk about the National Aging Without Apology Month, which is, I believe, this month, the month of July. And Julie, welcome to Tell Me Your Story.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Now, I'm not going to be rude and say, okay, are you a member of this this group? We're all aging. All right. I just turned 65 last month. All right.
I'm going to turn 65 in February. So I'm a
Okay.
1961 person.
All right, so we're close there. I usually looked at the landmarks as far as different places along my aging path. When I was a kid, I grew up once I reached 10, and then there was 16. Of course, I didn't drive at 16, and then there's 18. You become an adult, and then 21, 20 and 21. 21 when you get to drink, then 30. Then 40, then 50, then 60, and then there's that halfway point, 65, because if you haven't already, which I had, you now join the Medicare crowd. Then there's 70, and then maybe you start breaking it down by fives and so forth. And of course, my plan is to live to be 100, but I'll have to make sure that I have quality of life.
Right. I only want to live that long if I've got my marbles and nothing hurts too poorly.
There you go. Marbles and no pain.
Right. Or just aches, but not really horrible pain.
Right. Well, I will say that I managed to get rid of my pains, but it wasn't the way I would recommend anybody doing it. Unfortunately, I'm dealing with, as we all are dealing with, certain conditions. And in my case, I have lost 22 pounds in the last 4 months.
Wow.
But not intentionally. I wasn't. Oh, no congratulations.
Oh, oops.
I wasn't trying to. And it's due to a condition that unfortunately a lot of people are dealing with today. And I found out it's not just because of our diet. It's because of stress. And it's called elevated glucose. I'll put it in that context. And I got it down to normal after the pandemic. I was fine. I had is perfect. No meds. I got off it because I told the doc, I says, I know how I got here. Comfort foods. And then all of a sudden in 2024, I don't know what happened. I was doing all the same things, doing all the right things, and then so stress, I found out, can very well, and unfortunately now, a year later after that spike, I'm dealing with a lot of stresses. We're moving. I don't know what's happening with my job as far as can I do it remotely? You know, those are wonderful things that we have now, thanks to COVID, you know. Um, and then there are other things that are going on in life too. So when we talk about this whole aging process, that's one of those factors that we have to look at, isn't it?
Yeah, I kind of want to get back to, you just said so many things that in my
I know I
world,
do that. I'm sorry about that.
no, it's really good that in my world I would unpack, and it would be in the self-compassion paradigm, it would be how you talk to yourself because all that's hard, and how you give yourself compassion because all of that is hard helps you be less stressed.
Hmm.
So, and your self-compassion toolbox, I put it in the context of SNAP because that's the acronym I created for helping to manage your nervous system. But it's all those things that you do that calm you down, that downregulate the cortisol and adrenaline, that give you endorphins and give you oxytocin, that calm down your stress, that help all of the systems in your body. You know, your depression goes down, anxiety goes down, your telomeres are better, you get more white matter. You know, meditation is folded in there. That's one of your tools, and that's a humongous benefit to your whole body.
Hmm.
And then because it's your whole body, it's your whole life. So I would break out each thing that you said and tell you to snap each thing.
All right. Well, let's get started here. What in the Sam Hill does SNAP stand for when you're talking about going from chaos to calm?
Yep. So the S is soothing touch. And when you place your hands on your body where you find it soothing, and for you, it could be both hands on your heart, or one on your belly and one on your heart, or it could be two hands on your belly. You could be cradling your face. You might be hugging your arms. You might just have one hand nestled in the other hand. But when you do that, what happens in your body is oxytocin and endorphins get released to calm down regulate the stress hormones. They know that because it's called the mammalian caregiver response. And they've shown that when an adult picks up an infant, that system gets released in both the adult and in the infant. So we don't need another human being. I don't need to go up to my husband and say, sweetheart, can you hold on to me for 12 seconds or so? Because I'm really stressed and I need to calm down. No, I can do that for myself, which is incredibly powerful. So that's the essence snap. You with me?
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay, the N is name the emotion. Name it to tame it. I'm sure you've heard that. Name it to tame it, feel it to heal it. What you're doing when you name the emotion is you're building some distance from it, number one. But number two, it's the brain science. You're taking more seconds so that you can get your prefrontal cortex, which is right behind your forehead, online so that you can make a more skillful response. So you name it. You say, wow, this is grief, or this is stress, or this is fear, or this is whatever it is. Then the act in SNAP, S-N-A, we're on the A. What do I need to hear right now? There's two parts to the A because the A is the really big one. So what do I
Hmm.
need to hear right now? You say it to yourself. You say, this too shall pass, or you'll get through this, or I know this is really hard, be gentle with yourself, or whatever it is. It's going to be unique to you what you say to yourself. And then part B is your toolbox. So you will have already written a joy list. And
Hmm.
you'll look at your joy list. What do I need to do to shift my mood so that I feel better? I'm going to pick something from my joy list that I can reasonably do right now. If you're driving in your car, it won't be getting in the bath, but maybe it'll be putting on your favorite music, calling your best friend, Maybe it'll be doing a little breath work, in for 4, out for 6, to lower your heart rate and your blood pressure. Maybe it'll be a little more soothing touch. I mean, it could be, if you're home, looking out the window, going outside in nature. You're probably going to have 25 or 30 things that actually bring you joy that you can choose from until you feel better. And then the P is praise. And you probably will really appreciate the P, because praise is so unique to each of us. People that are completely secular will be praising the universe. They'll be praising their teachers. They'll be praising and ought to be praising themselves for using the practice to make themselves feel better, so they show up better in society for their friends, their family, and, humans at large. But if you're a prayerful person that has a particular religion, go all in. Go all in on God, on Jesus, on Allah, on Buddha, whatever, whomever your deity of choice is, rest in that. And that folds into the gratitude practice, which is, that's been studied for 60 years. The gratitude practice helps people in every area of their life do better and feel better and be better. So that's my capsule SNAP. So it's SNAP, soothing touch, name the emotion, act, and praise. And when I teach it, I do those hand and arm motions. It's a neuro-linguistic programming thing, so people remember it. Like my husband said, it's kind of hokey pokey. And I'm like, yeah, people remember hokey pokey. So you won't need to continue to do the hand and arm motions. But when I teach it, I have people stand up, sit down, turn to the right, turn to the left, turn to the back, turn to the front. And they're doing SNAP, soothing touch, name the emotion, act, and praise.
All right. Well, I'm actually writing these down as we go here, and it's fascinating to see some of the things that people come up with to help to make themselves feel better, look better, sound better, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to sound better because we're going to pause here and just let you know you're listening to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan. She is Julie. And the pronunciation, did I get that correct?
No, you did. It was perfect. Potiker.
Potiker. And Julie Potiker is my guest, and we are on Tell Me Your Story. We're talking about SNAP. We're talking about living a better life, finding ways of living that better life. I use the phrase myself, looking for those new ways of living, because the old ways don't work. Just look around you. They're not working. All right. We're also talking about giving people choices and knowledge of those choices. And you've given us a choice. It's called SNAP. And that's the title of your latest book, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Is it available in Audible yet?
Yes, and it's me reading it,
Excellent.
which I had to battle for a little bit.
Really?
Yeah. And I just couldn't imagine somebody else speaking my words, because I've got such I'm me. So my first book and second book are both out in Audible. And in my first book, Life Falls Apart, But You Don't Have to, Mindful Methods for Staying Calm in the Midst of Chaos, I hadn't invented SNAP. So SNAP's not in that book. I came up with SNAP during the pandemic because I was teaching this other thing called RAIN, which everybody teaches. All the mindfulness teachers teach it. And it's from the 1980s, and it's good, but I was modifying it as I taught it, and I realized, it needs an update.
Well, we encourage people to also go to your website, and it is Mindfulness Methods for Life.
Almost, Reverend. Mindful methods. Mindful methods
No
for life.
mindfulness.
And I
Mindful, ladies and gentlemen.
I
Mindful
know that's
methods
a
for life.
mouthful.
Yeah.
I
But
know it's a mouthful.
it has a rhythm to it, has a ring to it, so people will remember it, and will be linked to it as well at our SoundCloud and YouTube sites as well, so that people can go there while they're listening to or watching this conversation that we're having. And Julie Potiker is my guest, and what I find so interesting about all of this is that now, first of all, explain to us about this, what is being referred to as the National Age Without Apology Month, because something tells me it's kind of akin to and I hear this even from folks that are older than me, and they will basically they will be talking, and oh, I forgot what I was going to say. That's just my old age kicking in. That's just the old brain. I don't have the gray matter. It's almost like apologetic, if you will. Um, and he actually a sort of a almost a backhanded self-deprecating comment, isn't it?
Mm, yes. Yeah, people call them senior moments.
Yeah.
I've been
Well,
I've been I've been embracing being a senior since I was 55.
yeah.
And I got my AARP card and I was so excited. My husband said, throw that out. Throw that out. What are you doing? I'm like, no, I like it. Look, there's perks.
Well, I know I've heard that phrase about, I've even heard the comment, I'm sorry for getting old,
Oh God, that's terrible.
and
You're either going to get old or you're going to die.
well, actually, you're going to die whether you get
Well,
old or
you're
not.
going to die regardless. You're going to die regardless. Exactly.
My father, my late father, he used to say, "Eat, drink, and be merry in moderation, because nobody gets out of this world alive."
That's the truth.
And then there was another wonderful insight that came to me when my wife's nephew passed away from leukemia. You know
Mm,
how they would say, "Oh my gosh, he lost his battle with cancer." And I say, "No, he didn't. He won. He won." So whether the dis-ease, whatever you call it,
mhm.
goes into remission, goes away, is cured, whatever the case may be, and you get to live more years, you won. And if it if the body ceases to function because that dis-ease took it over, you still won, because now you're free from that body. 5 days before my father's passing, they took him to the hospital, ran a battery of tests, and said that he had early onset Parkinson's and dementia.
Mm. Mm.
I know my father well enough to know he is probably very glad that he left 5 days later, because I don't think he would have handled it well at all. He did not like the fact that I mean, he was 91.
I was
Almost,
just going to ask, what is your father's name and how old he was? So, how old was this 91-year-old young man?
yeah, well, my father, 91 years of age, and what was fascinating was, I don't know why it didn't dawn on me until his memorial, when I realized, being the oldest male,
Mm,
I was named after him, but in reverse. His name was Leslie Richard, and my name is Richard Less.
mm.
And for some reason, when I connected those dots at that moment, I stood up in front of everybody, probably louder than any of the other people who gave their remarks, and I said, "My name is Richard Less Dugan." And I was so proud of the fact of that fact, that I could carry on his legacy with his name.
That's beautiful.
Um, but by the same token, I remember following his eldest daughter, my oldest sister's passing, and at her memorial, he made the comment. He says, "Parents aren't supposed to bury their kids."
Yeah.
I'm always trying to think of things to say to people when we're talking. I couldn't think of one thing to say to that, not even one. But
It's
this
out of order.
Yeah, that's how it seems. But this is the process of the human being aging. I mean, not to be too morbid here, but we're born to die,
Yeah.
you
Every
know?
day. Every
Every,
day.
yeah.
You know, it's
So,
interesting during COVID.
yes.
I was asked at the very beginning of COVID to run a mindfulness meditation group on Zoom, and I'm still running it. So we passed our 5-year mark, and we're never going to let each other go. It's this great cohort of people on Zoom. And during that time, 3 of the women in the group had their husbands pass away, and none of them passed away from COVID. They passed away from other illnesses. And I decided to get my grief educator certificate, which I did,
Mm-hmm.
so that I would be like, you have the training for this. I'm sure you have pastoral care training, being a reverend, right?
Little bit, yes.
So I didn't want to feel nervous inside my own body and I didn't want to feel afraid of saying the wrong thing. So I went through the credential program, got the credential from David Kessler, who's a magnificent teacher. And now I feel really mindful, I think I want to say. Like I can listen to this stuff and not get afraid, and I can really listen with the ears of my heart, and I can hopefully say something that's validating and not dismissive, and that brings some amount of solace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since we've kind of embarked
I know we went on a tangent. What can
on
I
this
tell
path here, I'm going to share with you that this subject of the transitioning, as I call it. All right, okay. Bernie Siegel, I interviewed years ago, and we were talking, and his wife had died, and I made the comment, "Hey, did you ever, since your wife transitioned, have you ever heard from her?" And he says, "What do you mean transition? She didn't transition. She died. Why can't we just use the word die?" And
Oh, wow.
in deference to Bernie, okay, but and I love the man. He was such a great guest on the program. We've had him on several times. In any event, it's a subject that I find fascinating because when people pass, my first thought is usually, and even with my father and my sister, I wonder what they're experiencing now. What are they doing? What are they going
Oh,
through?
yeah.
And I will tell you
Mhm.
that a Dr. Newton, who did studies in LBL, or life between lives therapy, hypnotherapy, I read his case studies and I was fascinated. So we have a practitioner here in Santa Barbara. I sought him out and I went through that hypnosis therapy and it was fascinating. It's like, wow, really? And you either believe it or you don't, and you don't have to. It's just that it gave me some answers, but then I get questions from people who say they're afraid of it
Mm-hmm.
because they're afraid that there's nothing after this.
Mm,
And the best I can do, from whether it's the citizen or a reverend or what have you, is, well, to be honest with you, I don't know, but I can tell
mm-hmm.
you what I believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If there is nothing after this life, you're not going to know anyway,
Right.
for one. Number two, though, or the other part of it is, it makes no logical sense that we go through everything that we go through in this life,
Mm-hmm.
especially the searching, the introspection, all of that even you talk about, especially in SNAP and so forth. And then there's nothing?
Mm.
That doesn't make any sense. Now, I have, no,
What
let me go.
about our energy?
Exactly.
We're energy beings. So,
Mhm.
and that's scientifically proven that our
Yes.
energy goes out 3 feet, and there's all the heart math that's so
Right.
fascinating.
Yeah.
I went to this consciousness and human evolution conference last year in San Diego. Oh my God, it was like mind blowing. I mean, there actually is science trying to validate some of this spirituality. When my mom took her last breath, I had I don't know what to call it, but like a, oh my God, I'm trying to find a word for this, but I had like a knowing
Hmm.
flash of insight, and I felt connected to every person at the bedside of a loved one who was passing. It
Mm.
was phenomenal. And then I had this incredible rush of gratitude, like a flood of gratitude, that me and my two sisters were at her bedside and the hospice nurse, and that my husband was with my dad in the living room because my dad didn't want to see his beloved of 67 years take her last breath. I mean, it wasn't a pretty sight, as you know. You've seen people take their last breath.
Hmm.
So anyway, it was an incredible experience. But then once she was gone, I wanted to know if she was okay because I was so used to taking care of her emotional needs, even though I was the daughter, that I got nervous. She doesn't like being alone. Where is she? What's happening? What's going on? Is she okay? And I went to a healer, and now I sound like a kook and not not a recovering attorney, which I really am, and I really am evidence-based, and this isn't what we were planning on talking about, but I'm just telling the truth.
Hmm.
So I went to a healer and I expressed my fears and my worries and what I was thinking, and she said, I don't know how to tell you this, but your mom's really busy. She's just not thinking about you. She's got millions of questions. She's annoying her handlers and she's getting things set up. Don't worry, she'll send you signs. And then I started getting feathers. And then my sister bought me this book, you know, and I talk about this somewhere in a blog or maybe in my book. I don't know. But
Hmm.
my sister got me a book about signs from the afterlife, and feathers are a thing. Like where there's no birds around and no trees around, and there's feathers on the ground in front of you. So anyway,
It's fascinating, this subject, and we have so, on the one hand, we have so few answers. On the other hand, we have so many answers, but it isn't a question of the answers that are there. It's the question of whether or not we are willing to accept them as answers. Believe that, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because for many, they are trapped in a book.
hmm.
And if it doesn't appear in the book, it's not real. And it's like, okay, if that's your choice. I'm not going to argue with you on that. All I know is I saw a wonderful documentary about the subject of dying. And in one of the sections, they got the permission, obviously, from the gentleman, the person in the family,
Hmm.
and they placed this man on this what looked like a an autopsy table, right?
Hmm.
And it had his weight, but he was still alive. And they waited and waited as long as it took, and eventually he passed, and his weight changed.
Oh my gosh.
And it wasn't much. I mean, it was less than maybe half a pound or a quarter of a pound or even less than that. But the weight changed. And so the question is, what the heck left? Because everything that was that man physically was still on that table. Nothing drained
Except
off.
for
Or
his spirit.
if that's indeed what it was, then now we have a knowledge that when someone dies, their weight changes. If that's true, then that's the soul, the spirit, the energy
Hmm.
has some kind of material weight to it.
So, do you know who Andrea Gibson is?
I think I've heard the name somewhere.
So, her pronoun is they, their.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say they. They
Mm-hmm.
passed away yesterday, and they were a magnificent, luminous poet. So there's tons of Andrea Gibson poems, books. You can look them up,
Mm-hmm.
and she knew she was passing away because she had the dis-ease of cancer, and she talked about how she's going to be reincarnated in the memories of her loved ones, which is sort of like how you think about you're going to live on in the hearts and minds of the people that love you.
Mm-hmm.
And NBC actually, it came up in my Facebook feed. NBC actually posted a video of Andrea reading a love letter to her wife about her dying and about living. And it was just gorgeous, heart-rending, heartbreaking, and inspirational. And that happened yesterday.
Wow. Wow.
I know. Big wow. So who knew what we were going to talk about today?
Yeah, to me it's fascinating, and obviously when we talk about aging, there's this interesting dichotomy between the physical body and the essence that is us. I don't know if you remember in the movie Men in Black, this one giant alien was injured, and they took him back to the infirmary, wherever it was, right? And all of the sudden, the head opens up, and there's
Mm,
this tiny little critter in there who is running that giant body.
wow.
Well, as a kid, as a child, walking around the house or wherever, I used to think like that, that I am inside my head, looking out through the eyes, listening through the ears, speaking through the mouth, smelling through the nose, but it's me inside, like that little character in Men in Black.
Okay, so you were an unusual child. So in Buddhism, you were a witness already at that age? I mean, that's unbelievable. That's really super cool.
Well, I'll tell you, it has helped me. And again, obviously, I have experienced the passing of my father,
Yeah.
and I have had a couple of good cries over that after his passing a couple of years ago. Not so much over my elder sister, but we were close enough. My best friend of 53 years, we went through grade school, high school, and college together. Have not shed a tear, but every time I think of him, I laugh because we had so much fun together. It was
I'm
such a
afraid.
blast. You're
I'm af
afraid.
I'm afraid of how I'm going to manage when my best friend, if my best friend, I hope I go first is all I'm going to say.
Right. Well, I know that when my father was in his last weeks and months, and this conversation even came up. I mean, we were even sitting around the table several years ago before the passing of my elder sister, actually speaking about this kind of thing. And my wife and I would go over to their house, their townhouse there in Phoenix, and we would have these incredible metaphysical and spiritual conversations. And they shared with us how, they would have these dreams. He would have a dream about how he was lost looking for her, and
Wow.
so forth, and on and on and on. And my first thought when they were sharing these stories was that I hope he goes first,
Mm.
because he is not going to do well. He'll follow not far behind. Whereas my mother, oh my God, you'd think the woman was in her 50s or 60s. Every time I talk with her, it's like, my God, that voice is so strong. It's like when I was a kid growing up, it's as strong now as it was then.
And
And
how
she's
old is she now?
she will be in September 91.
Wow. So
And
she's a super ager. She's healthy?
she is. She is.
Wow.
Uh, that's what I want for everybody, regardless of what their chronological age
Yeah,
is.
for sure. I'm reading that book right now. Have you picked it up yet? It's called Super Agers by Eric Topol.
Have not yet. I will.
It's dense. I'm falling asleep, to be honest, because I'm reading it on my Kindle in bed at night in the dark. But it's really good, and it talks about the people that are like your mom,
Yeah.
where if by the time you're 65, if you don't have, heart disease, diabetes, or cancer,
Yeah.
you could live that long. And then there's the neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and whatever. In any case, I'm reading it, so in case there's something that is in my control,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Well, it is said that we can leave whenever we want. Now, years ago, I interviewed a fundamentalist Christian who actually practiced out of body experiences. He actually would leave his body, to which I asked him, because I worked for a Christian radio station, and many of the people there would say, if it's not in the Bible, you don't talk about it. Well, of course, there's nothing that I know of in the Bible about out of body experiences or inducing them on a regular basis. So I said, how often do you do this? And he said, oh, sometimes several times a week. How do balance this with your
Yeah, how
sleep?
disorienting would that
Yeah.
be?
And then the other question, the other one of the other questions that I asked him was, um, you know, has he ever wanted to not come back? And he says, no, no, not yet, not yet. I still want to come back into the body and continue on doing the things I'm doing. So, and even the yogis, I mean, even in Autobiography of a Yogi, my metaphysical primer talks about how people can, and yogis do this all the time, according to the writings there, they leave when they are ready to go. They stay as long as they want, and then they go. That was one thing I could not say to my father. We were talking with him on the phone, and thank God we had video so we could see him too, the night before he left, or
Hmm.
died, or passed, or transitioned, whatever you want to call
Whatever
it.
you want to say. Hmm.
And I wanted to say those words, Dad, you know, you can go anytime, but I just, for whatever reason, I just couldn't say that. And maybe it was more because my intuition was telling me he already knows that. You don't have
Hmm.
to tell him. And it may not go over real well with your mother, who was right there in the room on speakerphone.
Right. So my mom died first. She died in 2016. And then in 2019, I was, my dad was in his reclining chair. He was passing away. His doctor was there helping me with the meds.
Hmm.
And I was on my knees. I didn't realize that I was like in that position on my knees for so many hours, but I had one hand on his chest and the other hand in his hand. And I
Hmm.
was just chanting, "We're here, letting go. We're here, letting go." But he wanted to die. He intended on using California's medical aid in dying law.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we had the interviews, and the doctor wrote the prescription. And back in 2019, you had to wait 15 days. Now it's only 2 days.
Yeah.
But back then, we had to wait 15 days. And during that 15 days, since he had already gone off his all his heart meds for his congestive heart failure, he went into VTAC. And so he was having a massive coronary. And so he didn't have as peaceful of a death as he and I planned.
Right.
Like he and I planned this great, send off for
Hmm.
him, and he didn't get that. On the other hand, my eldest sister was really grateful that he died naturally because she's not comfortable with the medical aid in dying law.
Yeah.
So he was so grateful that I was comfortable with it.
Hmm.
My mom was already gone.
Yeah.
He had lung disease, idiopathic fibrosis. So he
Right.
was, on supplemental oxygen, and he had congestive heart failure, and he was 87 and he was ready,
Yeah.
and he kept, from the time my mom died until he died, transitioned. I like to call it transitioned.
I
I
do
think it's
too.
softer, right?
Yeah.
He said he was still married. His wife just wasn't here.
Well, there you go. And my family, um, the night of my father's passing, um, I received a text from my elder sister, who we are very close. We communicate fairly regularly. She's the kind of person that will call me on my stuff. That's and we're still brother and sister, and and she texted me, said he's gone. And I went to call, and she was so upset that, she got really mad at me because I was calling. So I called my mom, and she told me that they had placed chairs around his bed there in the house. He was going there in the house in
Hmm.
their condo or
Hmm.
their townhouse, and this is the way my mother put it. We sang him up to heaven. They were
Oh, that's
singing.
so nice.
They were singing the songs we would sing going on vacation, driving to wherever, old spirituals, the favorite
That's
songs that they
so
wrote, on
nice.
and on and on. And I thought, wow, how cool is that? How cool is that?
That's a blessing.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing to give. And, it's just amazing. And I have to say that it took me a while to understand what my father meant by how he had nothing to do. He had very little to do with our upbringing. My mother gets all the credit. Took me a while to understand that. At first, I thought he was being self-deprecating. He didn't feel like he was there until one of my interviews, and they said, no, actually, what he's saying is he's praising your mother
Mm,
for the work she did. He's not discrediting himself.
hmm.
He's just honoring her. That's how much he loves her. It was fascinating. It
What
really
kind of
was.
work did he do when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, he worked for a company called Rocky Mountain Bank Note Company. They printed checks on
Mhm.
printing presses. I remember
Wow.
getting a tour of the place, and he would come home. He wore this green windbreaker that always smelled of the ink that they used there, especially the fall and the winter. And then he went on in the '70s to get his computer programming degree and did some other work until he retired. Uh, so it was fascinating that he, I mean, he was, as my sisters put it in the memorial, he was the most honest man I know. Now those are my
Mm,
sisters' words. I never thought of him in that context. I never questioned his honesty either way, but I would agree with them. He cared a hell of a lot. He could not drive, but he worked on the car. He would change the oil, check the plugs. I mean, go through the whole thing. Even taught my brother how to change the oil, and my brother told that story, which was actually a very funny story. But this is one of the aspects you mentioned just a little while ago about how there's this saying that a person never dies until the last person who remembers them passes away.
right.
Along those lines.
And then there's people that leave a legacy in writing or in film or in art or in weaving or whatever, and then they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their legacy can. I have this podcast that's just guided meditations that's free. Balanced Mind with Julie Potiker, and I'm thinking, how cool will it be for my kids, may it happen, that they can hear in some form, who knows what form it'll be,
Yeah.
but they can hear great grandma or great grandma Julie guiding people in meditations and reading a poem at the end.
Yeah, wouldn't that be wonderful? Speaking of which, Julie Potiker is my guest, and we're talking about Snap, from
Sort of.
sort of, kind of in a way, from chaos to calm. And we'll continue that as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan, and Julie Potiker is my guest. She's written a book called Snap, and fascinating. We're having a very interesting, in my opinion, a very interesting conversation talking about, soothing touch, name the emotion, act, and of course, then there's praise. Those are the words that make up the acronym SNAP, and you can get a copy of that book at Mindful. Okay, let's get the website correct here, and I need to pop back over here. There it is, Mindful. Mindful. I can't even read it now. I can't believe it.
You
Mindful
want to
Methods
assist?
for Life. Mindfulmethodsforlife.com. I've got it. And mindfulmethodsforlife.com. That's the website we'll be linked to. Julie, this is interesting to me, especially considering your other book, I guess your first book,
Hmm.
Life Falls Apart, but You Don't Have to. And of course, as I have shared, some people say, "My God, Richard, your life is really falling apart. I mean, my gosh, you're being asked to leave the place you've been in for 19 years, and you don't know what's happening with your job, and I mean, the list goes on and on and on." And I'm sitting here going, actually, my life isn't falling apart. It's just, I love to use the analogy of sliding tiles. It's just being rearranged a little bit. That's all.
Hmm.
That's all. I'm not leaving. I mean, I hope to continue doing these podcasts for as long as I possibly can. Hopefully till I'm 100. We'll see. Um, but there's this aspect of the here and the now. I'm going to be interviewing a good friend of mine, Billy Mandarino. He calls himself the nowist.
Wow.
Okay, the nowist. Talking about staying in the present moment. I've talked with so many people lately about staying here right now.
Right. So
And
it's
please.
it's the reaction to what's happening that is your power,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So all kinds of stuff is happening all the time, and you have stressors coming up, and it's how you manage your reaction to these things that is going to either allow you your equanimity, which I think about as like floating
Hmm.
on the surface of the ocean,
Hmm.
or it'll take you down in a rip current.
It could. I like the analogy of a river, and you're floating on your back, and you're
Hmm.
just letting the current carry you.
Hmm.
You know, you'll go over to the left shore, and then back to the center, to the right shore, and back to the center, and so on and so forth. And if you want, yeah, you can kind of paddle your way this way or that way, but you're still going down the river. You're still flowing. You're not resisting. Now, when we moved in 2006, my wife and I had both lost our jobs. I was let go because the station was being sold and a new format was being brought in, and they weren't keeping any of us.
Mm,
The next day after my last day, my wife calls me as I'm cleaning up my office saying, I just quit my job.
wow.
And what was funny then was I had no fear.
Mm,
Yeah, we had a little nest egg from a HELOC that we took out for the house. So that would be helpful. Yes, we could have gotten other jobs, but we sat there at the TV that night, March 1st of 2006. She says, I'm scared. I feel like we're on the edge of a precipice. And I said, well, everything I know from all of the different sources, interviews and books and da da da, they tell you to do two things in this order, which sounds counterintuitive. When you find yourself at the edge of a cliff, you jump and you trust. And that's what we did. And that's why we've been here in Santa Barbara for over 19 years. And I wanted to find that again, early on in the process. I'm starting to get back to that where there's no fear, trusting it's going to be okay. No matter what it is, it's going to be okay. You're not
hmm.
alone. You have a network. You have built and created all of the things necessary and, so to speak, guided by the universe, that it is going to be okay. So relax, spread your arms out, and just float. Just enjoy the ride.
What do you think the difference is between faith and trust?
Wow, that's a good question. Um, Faith, I think, as the definition goes biblically, is the things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. I honestly, well, actually, I can put it another way. I can put it a different way. All right. The difference, in my perspective, is the one definition versus trust. With all that's going on, there are two things that there's one thing I have, I hold on to, and one thing I don't hold on to. The thing I hold on to is anticipation. Anticipation, meaning this is cool. I'm looking forward to this. It's like when you go to see a movie after you've seen the previous. Oh, this should be a good movie. I love science fiction. I love Star Trek, blah, 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 blah. I don't have expectation. I
Hmm.
have no idea how it's going to look. And I
Hmm.
don't want to know how it's going to look until it manifests.
So you're not attached to the outcome.
No. And as we get closer and closer to knowing whether or not the place we're going to be moving to is the place we're going to be moving to, it becomes more and more of a challenge. But then there's that acceptance of this is what it's going to look like. And it's okay for you now to visualize because it feels right. And I'm floating down the river.
Equanimity.
Equanimity. There you go. Equanimity. Harry Chapin had a great line in one of his interviews where he talked about that, where I think it was his uncle who was getting up there in years, and he says, Harry, there's a good tired, and then there's a bad tired.
Mm,
Bad tired is when you are living, you are working, and you're doing, and you're living, and you're doing someone else's dream and the direction they're going. And a good tired, and you lay your head down on the pillow and you sleep, and it's restless, and you're not at peace. A good tired is you've lived your dream, you've done your things, you've gone your way, you lay down on your pillow, and you fall asleep peacefully. And Harry uses the phrase, that one word he uses, if only we could find that equanimity,
hmm.
you know and it's that's kind of what you're providing through the book Snap.
I'm trying.
you know?
I'm trying because we actually have a lot of personal agency. We
Mhm.
actually have a lot of power, and it's in our reactions to what's going on. So that's really that Viktor Frankl quote, which I'm not going to do exactly, but
Okay.
it's between the stimulus and response,
Right.
between the match and the flame, that is your power right there. And so I teach people all the tools and techniques of how to calm down so that they can manage their reaction and be really, really nice to themselves because it's hard.
Yeah. Early on in this program, and when I say early on, I'm talking 2007, 8, 9. I would ask at the end of every program 3 questions. And one of those questions was, how powerful are we? And many times it would come back infinitely powerful. The mind thing that came to my mind was 100 million atomic bombs going off is how powerful we are.
Wow.
Not in a destructive way by any means, but it is absolutely true. There are say and there's that phrase. I know you know this phrase that we create our own reality.
Sure.
I have said many times, speaking of this whole concept of age, and by the way, the National Age Without Apology was actually back in June, the month of my birth. Um, the process of determining how old one is, obviously, we can use the calendar. But then there's another part of us, and I've been saying this for decades, that I feel, no matter how much older chronologically I get, I feel like I'm 17. Even
Wow.
today, I feel like inside, but my body reminds me to
Yeah.
be careful, okay? You know, you're not brittle as a as a potato chip, but you still need to take it easy. But that's how I feel inside.
I feel
How about
so
you?
much better than when I was 17. Oh my God. I feel so much better at 64 than I have at any other age. I just feel so calm and I feel so generous and I just feel so much more at ease in my skin, even though I wish my skin was lifted a little bit. And I wish my eyes were a little more open. I mean, there's stuff, believe me.
Sure.
But I just feel I'm grateful and I like making new friends and I like learning new things
Mm.
and I'm not competing. And I
Yeah.
don't have it like I became a poet in the last couple years. Like who would have ever thought it? A debut poet in her 60s? But that's so fun. And
Yeah.
I don't have an ego about it. So I'm getting help from other poets and it's a good way to it's a good way to age.
So you're doing your thing. You're being who you are.
Yeah.
How are you teaching others to achieve that same place in life?
I'm just modeling it. I'm
Mhm.
walking my talk. I mean, I donate a ton of time teaching workshops on SNAP to nonprofit organizations. I teach their staff. I teach teachers who are preschool teachers. I teach the teachers in hopes and in knowing that they'll be better in the classroom so the kids will benefit, so then the families will benefit. I just got asked to do a gig for the Public Defenders Association of California
Mhm.
for their continuing ed credits. It's my pleasure to do it. They don't have an honorarium. I don't care. It's just my pleasure to help people manage themselves because it raises the bar for humanity. And I want people to be nicer to each other.
Kindness, absolutely. I not that I would drain my brain for this, but I want to share everything that I know with everyone else so that then it's like in my career as a broadcaster at radio stations, I want to train everybody to know what I do so that then they can take over doing what I'm doing so I can move on to other things. I can learn
Excellent.
new things.
Yeah. I think learning, like being curious,
Yeah.
is a really fun, wonderful thing as you age.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you again, only I'm going to phrase it differently. How do you feel? How old, if I can say, do you feel inside?
Mm. I mean, I could just take a random stab.
Whatever you want. There's no right answer here. This isn't a
I
test.
I don't know, 60?
Okay, that's fine. Whatever works for you. I got to tell you that with all the stuff that's going on, it's like, wow, I'm 65. Wait a minute. But I was just whatever the age is. I was just and now I'm here. How did this happen? That kind of thing.
Because you didn't die. That's how it happened.
This is
I would never want to go back to high school because I was so insecure.
Hmm,
And I wouldn't want to go back to college, although it was really fun because my boyfriend and I had a great time not having any responsibility, and he's my husband. And I wouldn't want to go back to raising my kids because it was exhausting. And when they were teenagers, it was terrifying.
yeah,
That's why I think I like now.
yeah. That also raises this question about uh, okay, there's a difference between not wanting to go back to those places. But here's an interesting question based upon who you are today. Would you do you regret having done anything? And bear in mind, my definition of regret is if only I could go back in time and not do that.
There's a couple, yes, I have a couple of those. I
Okay.
don't I don't
You
feel shame
okay.
about them because there were mitigating circumstances. But as a young woman, I made some questionable romantic decisions.
Okay. We'll leave it at that because I was going to say you don't have to tell us what they are.
Yeah.
My perspective is I
This
have
was before I was married.
ah, okay. Well, no, I kind of figured that.
Yeah.
Um, for me, having regrets is basically saying I'm not happy with who I am now. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to change those things because if I change those things, it'll change who I am in the present. Well, we can't do that. It's not possible to do that.
Now, I think even the mistakes are
Yes,
helpful. I think they're
exactly.
helpful. They kind of make the tapestry of who you are at this moment.
Exactly. I mean, I've had a divorce, filed a couple of times bankruptcy in my lifetime. I've tried to be a good person throughout my life. I'm grateful for the comment of one of my dear friends here in Santa Barbara has said, because he knows me well. He's known me since I moved here, and he says, Richard, you walk the talk. Now, I'm not aware of walking the talk. I just walk,
It's who
okay?
you are. Yeah.
And that was a nice thing to hear. And I don't say that for self gratification.
Mhm.
It's just nice to hear.
Well, it's
And
good to be validated, Richard.
do you ever think about where you want to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that kind of thing? What you want to be doing? Or are you content with, hey, if I'm doing the same thing now in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I'll be content?
I pretty much live in the now, honestly.
Hmm.
I don't think about 5, 10, or 15 or 20 years. I have no idea whether I'm going to die tomorrow or not. I'm
Join the
not
club.
sick right now,
Right.
so the likelihood is that I'll still be alive, but I could die tomorrow. Something could happen. I could get in an accident, and I have felt that since I was a teenager.
Oh, wow. And to that end, and now we're right back to the where we started. The question I have for you then is, are you ready? And I'll preface that by saying, I asked that question of my eldest sister 3 months before she passed. And her answer to me was yes and no. To which I responded, oh, come on, Jeanette. See, she said no because she doesn't want to leave her husband with all the stuff she knows he's going to have to deal with. But
Hmm.
from a spiritual or philosophical perspective, a faith perspective, she says, yeah, I'm ready. I'm not
Hmm.
afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm ready to go.
Hmm.
And I am the same way from the standpoint that since I don't know the day or the time of my departure. I got the ticket that got me here, and I know when I arrived. But if today's the day, I'm good to go. Is there more
Yeah.
I want to do? Sure, but I don't have any control over that.
You want to hear something really funny?
Sure.
When I'm on an airplane and it's really turbulent,
Uh-oh.
I chant in my head,
Mm-hmm.
today is a good day to die.
Ah,
And it just relaxes me.
yeah. I can.
Now, in actuality, if I did die today, and this was the last conversation I had, and it was with you, I'd be fine with it, but I would feel really sad for my husband and my kids.
Sure.
Oh my God. And I know as a grief educator the kind of grief they'll have. And I just want to spare them that.
Yeah. Yeah. I will tell you that yes, I grieved over my father and I did have some grief over my sister and I suppose my version of grief for my best friend. And we've had other people over the years who have passed, to which I pay an homage to at the end of every one of these programs, which you'll hear when we get to the end here. But my perspective has been for a long, long time, which I think has helped me, is that they're not gone. I
Right.
heard my sister's voice shortly after she passed saying, "Hi, Richard. Everything's okay. It's okay. Everything's good." I get
Wow.
impressions from my father when I say things to sort of self support self, that kind of thing. You kind of positive talk to yourself to try to build yourself up a little. And I'll go, where the hell did that come from? And I think that's my dad. Because the last few things he said to me were not only I love you, but I'm very proud of you and what you've accomplished in your
Oh,
life.
that's so nice.
And so my perspective on it all is that it's not over.
Hmm.
And it's no different. How many cars have you had in your lifetime? Just curious. How many cars do you think you've had in your lifetime?
Oh my gosh.
5, 6, 7, 8. That's the
More,
same.
more.
Yeah, that's the same process that we go through. We get out of this vehicle, all right, for a period of time, and maybe, again, based upon your own personal belief system, we take on another vehicle down the
Hmm.
road. Okay, and the LBL case studies, if you haven't read them, they're fascinating in terms of what we do after we've left this life.
Hmm.
Uh, and of course in what I went through, they took me back to my life before this one. I was a pioneer. I was a farmer,
Wow.
and my farm burned up. I had a cabin up in the mountains, and it was snowing. And I go out and I kick back. I sit down in the chair, tilt my hat back, put my feet up on the rails, and all of a sudden I go into the southern accent too. And and I just say, "Man, it's been a good life. It's been a good life." And I just left.
Wow.
I just left. And
Did you ever read the book Many Lives, Many Masters
I think I did. Yes, years ago with my
by
first.
Brian Weiss? Yeah. So when my girlfriend's husband died about 30 years ago, I brought that to it was in the Jewish faith, so it was sitting Shiva every single night for like a
Mhm,
week. And I
mhm.
brought that book, and it turned out her brother bought the rights to it, the movie rights, which I guess never materialized into anything. But that book sort of put me on this road because that was like a Harvard doctor who had this experience with his patients with past life regressions.
Mhm.
And he really got ostracized by his peers, and he knew he would, but he had to do it anyway.
Yeah.
He did a ton of research, and the book's incredible. And then she used to see signs of her husband all the time.
Mhm.
And then she ended up dying of a glioblastoma.
Mm.
Not that, maybe 8, 9 years ago, young, like she was around my age.
Mhm. Yeah. I and that's the other thing too is that and tapping into what I wrote about in my book Choices, we are always making choices. Sometimes they're subconscious choices. Other times they're very conscious, and it's important that we start making conscious choices. But one of the things, a comedian was talking about this, he says, I'm not sure I believe all of this healthy eating, vegan stuff, da 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 da. And then he starts listing those people who died at an early age who claimed to be health nuts, vegans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then talks about all of these people like in Russia who lived to be 162. And what do they attribute their longevity to? A cigar and a shot of vodka every day. And it's like, well, it's a mindset. And this goes back to what you are trying to teach people.
Yeah.
It is a mindset.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I got into a discussion with my father about the computer. I was building them in the 90s and loved it. And I used to say, yeah, well, the computer is just basically it's kind of like the human brain or the human body even, because you have the brain, which of course is the motherboard and the operating system. And then you have all the peripherals where you can see things and you can hear things and so on and so forth. I don't know why he said, no, that's not true. That's not accurate. But I never was able to convince him of that. But it seems like we are always trying, and there are people who want to live maybe forever or a lot longer by transferring their consciousness
Yeah. To the cloud.
to the cloud, to AI, to
Yeah.
a computer, to a robot. I want to live a natural life. I want to leave. I hope I get to leave going, in my sleep. That's what I
Oh, well,
want.
that's the dream everybody
Yeah,
wants
exactly.
because you're afraid of the pain.
Yeah. I love the things where there was this one free climber who died, and they said he died doing what he loved, and I said no, he didn't. He died falling and
Exactly.
hitting the ground. That is not what he loved.
Yeah, that's horrible.
I know what they meant, but
Yeah.
it's just it's really funny. Two other things I want to ask you about. They have
Hmm.
nothing to do with SNAP and nothing to do with the conversations on death. And I'm a big observer. First of all, I would like to know what that rectangular object is over your, I'm guessing, left shoulder on that wall. It looks like a Hindu or Indian
Yeah. It's the green Tara,
Kara. Yes,
and I got it. It's hand painted, a
beautiful.
scroll. They call them a tanka, and I
Mhm.
got it when I was on a mindful self-compassion tour in Bhutan, the Kingdom of Bhutan.
Which used to have, I hope they still do, that happiness.
Gross national happiness.
Yes.
Yeah, there's only 750,000 people in the whole kingdom.
Wow.
So they're not overpopulated. They're carbon negative because they don't cut down their trees.
Right.
And there's just kind of three main little towns that you would go visit.
Mm-hmm.
And the roads are terrifying. Talk about terrifying roads.
How
But it's
about
the
the people?
most magical place.
Mhm. How about the
Beautiful, beautiful people. And it's never been conquered. And the Buddhism there, I'm a student of Buddhism. I'm Jewish by culture and education, but I'm a student of Buddhism. So the Buddhism there is like pure, and you can go to these Buddhist temples that have been there since the 7th century that are still being used, and there's monks sitting there on these weathered, worn, painted plank floors chanting these different sutras. And I mean,
Mhm.
you could just float away there. It's so, I don't know how to describe it. It's just heaven.
Serene?
It's like
Serene.
heaven.
Yeah. Wow. And the other thing that I observed is because I love the colors in it, is that rug on the floor.
I bought it in India.
Of course you did.
I
Lovely.
bought it in
Oh,
India in a little village.
mm,
And I love it too. And that trip was the year before the pandemic, and I really loved touring there. I mean, I couldn't, like how I am a little bit of a nerd, So when I was in China, I tried to keep all the dynasties straight and
Yeah,
the history straight, which was hard because it's a really old place.
yeah, yeah.
Similarly, in India, Hinduism is fascinating.
Yes.
There's not that much Buddhism, but Hinduism's fascinating. But there's like more than 100 names for some of their deities. And so you're reading their folklore and trying to figure it out. I mean, it's really super fun.
Yeah.
And the poverty there and the wealth there,
Hmm.
the contrast was painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But touring there was I would love to go back.
Oh, wonderful. For me, and I've only been a few places. Ireland, been my wife and I have been there twice. It's been 20 years. But I was talking with a gentleman at the station. He was on one of the programs. We were chatting. He says, "What is it that you love about Ireland?" Because I said, "I love Ireland." And he says, "I already know what your answer is going to be, but tell me what you love about Ireland." And I said, "The people." I could sit in a pub with a pint of Guinness and just
Mm,
listen to them talk, not eavesdropping, just listen to them talk. And we had an experience when we got there the very first time in 2002, around Christmas time. We were driving on the highway, and some people came up alongside and asked us to pull over. And it wasn't aggressive or anything. And so we pulled over, and they asked us if we were tourists. And we said, "Yes, we are." "How did you know?" He says, "Because your indicator is still on for changing lanes." Oh, it was marvelous. Well, we're talking with Julie, and Julie Proctor is our guest, and her book, Snap. Snap is the name of the book. Get a copy at her website, Julie Potiker, juliepotiker.com. We'll be linked to it as we continue on Tell Me Your Story. Well, we're coming fast to the end of our program because we both have other things we have to get to, but this has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing what we have shared here on the program. I know that there are people who are listening that hopefully will get some support and encouragement, I hope, and comfort from some of the things that we've said. Thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you so much. This was fascinating. You never know.
Yeah, well, that's when you let the universe take you down the river. You never know where you're going to wind up. But I will tell you that I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are also on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many other locations. And we're on YouTube, where you can watch these conversations and you can see that magnificent rug and tapestry on the wall behind Julie. And we also encourage you to go to Amazon to pick up my book, Choices 5 Steps for Life, available in both hardcover, paperback, and as well as Kindle. Audible is coming. It's coming. I've been working on it for a long time, and it is coming. We also ask that if you can leave us a tip, we have a PayPal account. That's sort of our tip jar. If you can leave us one, go to the homepage of richarddugan.com, and there are links to Amazon.com and choices, and to PayPal to leave us a tip. And finally, please take some time during this decade of perfect vision to spend some time listening to that still small voice. And to our first of three questions we ask all of our guests here on the program. The first of those three questions is who is Julie Potiker?
Mom, sister, daughter, grandmother, friend of animal in the earth.
What gets you up in the morning?
Coffee.
Okay. And finally, what was your best day?
Wow. That's too hard. I have so many best days. That's too hard. Do you want me to pick one out of
Ans-
all the
answer
best days?
answer in any way you wish.
Ah, Um, I think holding my granddaughter 5 months ago when she was born, that
Mm,
was just, it was outstanding.
yeah. Wow. Well, Julie, once again, thank you so much. We encourage people to go to your website, which is Mindful Methods of Life for Life. Mindful
Oh,
Methods.
Richard, almost, almost.
Go for it. Tell me what it is if I'm not getting it right.
Mindful Methods, mindfulmethodsforlife.com. And you can get Snap wherever books are sold. If
That's
it's
right.
not on the shelf, they'll order it for you.
Well, I'm
Or
looking.
also Amazon, of course.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the Audible. That'll be fun to listen to. Well, thank you again, and I thank you folks for listening to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, Love to Law. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for letting me be in your life. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.